Welcome back to episode 6
Time
of
out.
season 3 of JV
Don't mean to
Studios.
cut you off here, but can we just give a round of applause for Jake Seaton here, producing JV Speaks.
Behind the scenes.
There he is. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much.
Man, the myth, legend.
There he
And
is.
we're back.
Just switch it up a little bit. So
Thanks, Johnny.
you're welcome.
And again, shout out, Jake. We appreciate you.
I know you're all probably a little baffled on that one, but I gotta keep you on your toes.
All right. Well, season 3 here, episode 6. Expanding a little bit on a topic we talked about last week, or last episode. No such thing as failure. And not that, we strive for failure. I feel like we don't fail. Failure is not an option. So really want to kind of expand on that mindset that we have as entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
You start in your parents' basement, your first year, you're also, an Uber driver to make sure ends meet. So can you just kind of tell everyone here how that mindset has played a role in your ultimate success? I mean, we were talking about this last night.
Yeah.
12-year overnight success. You
right.
put in 10 years, everyone thinks, dang, this happened overnight. They don't see the struggles in the back end.
Right.
So give us, a little bit of, that no such thing as failure, always learning from every opportunity. Let's just talk a little bit more about that in detail.
Well, there's definitely a lot to talk about, I'll tell you that. But something that just kind of is ringing in my head, and I may have said it in one of the first episodes. I probably have. It's one of the things I say a lot, but I can sit and tell you that this kettle is hot because it's smoking and it's steaming and it's bubbling over. But until you touch it, burn the crap out of your hands. You're never really going to learn. So it's like, for us, we got tossed in the fire to figure it all out, And we talked about the 12-year overnight success where people are like, oh, wow, I just feel like it happened. But like what they don't see is the years and years and years and years and years and the everything that comes with that territory of, how we got here sitting telling you guys these stories,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think failure is, to me, it's not like it's not an option, but it's also could be a strength to be able to accept failure in a way of like, what can we gain from it? And a failure in a way of like, I'll just speak on all the studio spaces we had. Those weren't, to me, huge failures, but they were also learning lessons. So it wasn't like, oh, we couldn't afford it, so we had to move. We truly were like, hey, we're in this part of the city. What if we went to this part of the city? Like, and so then we would jump ship, and then like we had zero attachment to like being like, I guess, quote unquote, like studio jumpers. Like we bounced from Bridgeport, then we went to River North.
Oh yeah.
Then we went back to Bridgeport, then Pilsen, right? And then the West Loop, and then back to Bridgeport. And then we're out here in Michigan.
Lines. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think looking at it like failure to me is almost like a huge benefit if you're open to like accepting, the outcome of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not being too proud. I mean, I think you guys aren't too proud to say, hey, this isn't working, or this could be better. Let's make a change and do it.
Well, I know music's our big background, so there's this band out in Australia, Bliss and Esso, and shout out Bliss and Esso if you guys are listening. It'd be cool. But they have one of these, a lyric, and it's, I never win or lose, I only win or learn. That's always stuck with me. So like, yeah, it could be a failure and you could be down on yourself, or you can be like, I learned.
Yeah.
Take it with you.
And I think some of the most successful people, like failure is probably the best point of success. Even when someone's like, oh, you guys will never make a living doing this, or, oh, like you have all these side jobs that you're hustling this. It's, we fortunately never, our parents were always super supportive in what we did.
Yeah.
Always let us dream and let us run with it. And then, yeah, we did have some people that would come and go, or kind of like try to join the JV crew, and then maybe just kind of naturally got weeded out because maybe there's a little envy, maybe there's a little this. And I think we would always look at each other like, hey, whether we win or lose, we're sticking together. We're in this together. It's JV for a reason. And I think as long as the core here is solid, failure could be a positive.
Yeah, definitely a lot to talk about here. I mean, I'm getting I know I'm hitting the metaphors hard, but that's who I am. So for me, I think about, it's true. That's who I am. I think about, you are always like, you could see failure, but you're this close, right? So there's this picture that I have ingrained in my head of this miner that's just like chipping away, right? And he's chipping and he's chipping. And there's two miners, and the first guy, boom, strikes gold, like right away. And the guy next to him's like looking, he's like, oh wow, like, and he stops, and he's been digging longer, and he stops, and he goes to go in that guy's hole, starts digging, and he gets nothing. This little old lady comes up, one hit. So his mind, he's like, saw that. He's like, I'm failing. I need to do what he's doing. Let alone he was, 1 foot away from gold. You know, I got that book in my office. My wife gave it to me. Like, you're that close.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love that, and I think I love the metaphors, right? I mean,
Oh,
just
yeah.
we just
I know.
we
It's
talk in
honestly
metaphors.
diabolical metaphors.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah,
They're amazing.
I'm baffled.
yeah, a lot of restaurant metaphors. Yeah, so we're good.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, talking about, you know, fast decisions, making decisions quickly, you know, is so critical, right, in what we're doing.
Right.
Also, I'm thinking about, you know, like we said, how many lost jobs have we had, right?
Oh,
so, you know,
hundreds.
you have a failed
Hundreds,
proposal. Yeah.
Yep.
So what is our close rate? I would say, you know, even if it's 50%.
Before you or after you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, we try to be.
Can I get a round of applause for that one?
Timmy.
Learn how to do sound effects.
Yeah, that's right. Season 6. Coming with the heat.
Yeah.
Season 6.
Episode 6.
Yeah.
Season 3.
No, but so say we've lost, I mean, more jobs than we've won, right?
For sure.
And rather than looking at each one as a failure, looking at it as an opportunity. And I know an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to, you know, think differently, right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing that is really critical, at least what we've done in the last year or so, is understand why we've lost a job. You know, and if it's because we're priced not too high, we're not competitive, is it because our style doesn't fit? And learning from that, I think is something that is super beneficial and allows us to reflect and be like, look inward.
Yeah.
Because it's so simple to say, you know,
Right.
dang, that client is, you know, their loss. I mean, and it is. We feel confident like it's their loss, but we also need to look inward and say, hey, what could we be doing better? What could we have done differently?
Yeah.
And apply that to the next job, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think it's also like kind of, it's staying humble too. It's accepting that humility of like, you know, there are some jobs that we feel strongly like, oh, we're in line. You know, our call was amazing with the client. Like, we have to get this gig. And then it comes in, it's like, oh, unfortunately, we went with the other company. And I think even over the years, and I advise anyone, you know, who does this is like, yeah, just keep it casual and ask the client, you know, for growth, can we ask why? And I feel like 9 times out of 10, you almost get that satisfaction. And you're like, oh, it makes sense. Maybe we weren't in line. Maybe we were over budgeted. Maybe the work wasn't in line. I think we always want to produce this. I'll speak for myself. The most polished work. You know, I love having a big team. I love making sure all the moving parts are at the highest level. But sometimes the client doesn't want that. And so it's like kind of swallowing that pride and knowing like, hey, if not this, then better.
Ooh. Yeah.
And knowing that when one door closes, more open. And I think that is something we take as a positive of like, well, this gig didn't go through, but like we know there's a higher purpose. And then boom, next week, 2 other things pop up that you just almost forget about it. But I think you do need to take ownership and knowing you can't win every bid.
right.
It's just inevitable.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to have people that can come in cheaper, people that are local versus traveling in, and people that truly are just price shopping. So it's like, how do you not have that? How do you avoid the attachment?
And again, talking about, you know, just because you don't win an RFP doesn't mean, you know, you didn't gain something, you didn't benefit something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're thinking about the same job that, you know, should have been the last, you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we felt like we had this great rapport with the client. We came in on budget. We knew we were going to deliver and execute and crush it. And the client calls us and says, hey, we went with a different company because your work is too polished. I think we might have talked about this a little bit in an earlier episode.
Yeah.
But then that week, we would have had to reschedule some meetings with some potential clients now that are turning out to be bigger and better, more aligned with what we want to do. So I think it's, bring faith into it, right? It's having that trust in God and in the plan that, hey, keep putting your best foot forward and good things are going to happen to you, right? And doing the right thing. So
yeah. And I think while we're on line of not winning a job, I think there's nothing wrong with still wishing the client, hey, I hope that project goes good, because it's like it's integrity. And I think at JV we definitely win or lose, we're team players. So we still want that client to have a great project. We don't wish, we hope those cameras just batteries fry while it is what it is. There's such a large demand for what we do in content. It's just like, it's like fishing. There's more fish in the sea.
Yeah. And there's a lot of fishermen. And everyone's got to eat.
Yeah, definitely. I also want to talk now, Johnny. I want to pivot. This is kind of specifically for you here. Talking about, you have a tendency to always want to do something better. You want to refine our processes.
Yeah.
And you want to just take a process and break it so we can find a way to make it better. And I think that, something going wrong allows us and gives us that, motivation to say, how do we do this better, right? So, thinking about, a recent job or a recent, proposal maybe that doesn't go through because of X, Y, or Z, how does that refine our process, and whether that's budgeting or, timeline or proposal process.
To piggyback on the example that we just talked about with, the one that they reached out and said, hey, your work's too good. I think the one thing that we could have done better is listen, like just a little bit more. And if we showed the correct example, despite all the other things, right? Like if I had one takeaway from that, I think that we were showcasing what we wanted versus what they needed.
What they wanted, yeah.
Yeah, what they wanted, what they needed, whatever that is, maybe, So I think for me, that was like, that's one right there. But there's always that takeaway of, what can we do better? Whether it's listening or taking a little more time to just understand like what the way that they process, because you have different people process different ways of information. Some people are visual, some people want to see it, some people want to read it, some people want to be presented to, and so like I think that having that is the understanding that is pretty big.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of that, the listening, I think that is that's critical, right? Even thinking about this proposal that we just are executing on now in early March here.
Right.
The client wanted X, and it may not have been the creative vision, right, of potential that Vince thinks how cool we can make this video. But I think that was really cool how we listened, especially you, Vince, right? We're like having that, as a creative, it's tough to separate your creative idea from what the client, wants.
Yeah.
And so, talk us a little bit about how you deal with that, right? When someone says, hey, that idea is great, because again, you have, and the great thing about you, Vince, is you can put together multiple ideas, which is awesome, right? And that's a lot of work. But it obviously shows we're investing in our clients before they're even, booking with us. But you're now taking that, your creative idea that they're saying, hey, we don't want to do that. We want to do this. How does that, how do you handle that process?
Yeah. Well, I think back in the day, like it would not happen. I think we didn't really get opportunities to present ideas. It was purely, hey, this is what we need you to do, execute it. Now we're at a level where a lot of our clients want ideas and there's value in that. And I think we're slowly getting to a point where, they're not looking at anyone else. They're like, we know these guys can come up with something fun, creative, outside the box. But it's also super, I still work on it today, just taking things personal, especially creatives. Like you're this artist, you feel so strong about a concept, and then that's the least one they like. And they tell you that right to your face with zero emotion. And you have to just sit there and take it. But obviously you value it, because if we didn't, we wouldn't get the job. So I think the ability to pivot fast, not have attachment to it, and to come up with with more than one good idea. So when you're presenting, okay, well, I have 3 good ideas. I don't have, it's not even good, better, best. They should all be good, or they should all be solid, solid ideas. And so I think it's helped me to just separate, again, listening, taking notes on the call, doing some research, seeing what competitors are doing. And also there are some clients that want to play it safe and some that want to go outside the box. And so having parameters that fit both, and again, like going back to like when you're on that call, some people may say little tidbits, and those little it's like the more, like you said it, the more you can listen, the clients kind of give you the idea. You just have to be receptive to it and then run with it and get lost in the sauce and lock yourself in your office and play music and watch documentaries or movies and watch other talented filmmakers, watch bad versions of what they want to know, like, this is not what I'm going to give them.
Yeah.
So I think I got to a point where every idea I'm going to pitch, I feel passionate about. I think we can deliver on anything. And, we had a job that just went through yesterday that we found out about. And it was one of those, like, we loved all the ideas and it was just the alignment. So it's been super helpful. And obviously working with other creatives to have a bounce board off has been huge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Johnny, talking about, I know you were the one that kind of brought up that listening, right? You know, where does that, inspiration come from? I don't know if that's just something where you're just kind of sitting with yourself and you just were born with that skill, or is that something that you have to work at?
Well, I'm the middle child, so I didn't get a lot of screen time.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
No, I just, if you listen, like you said, like they will tell you it. Like if you and it's a challenge for anyone even out there listening and stuff, like go and instead of trying to make yourself the scene, ask, how are you doing? And then don't say anything. Like when we silence ourselves and it's a practice, it's a discipline that if you, and I'm still working on it, you know, I'm not, it's something I'm still learning, but if you just really stop and let someone just ask, how are you doing? Or tell me about yourself. And you just don't say anything and you can break, like just give it a little bit of that awkward silence. Like it's coming out, something's coming out. And those are the gems, especially when it comes to like a client. So
yeah. And I think a lot of what we do it's subjective. What I think is super cool. And I'm like, oh, they're going to love this. They ended up not liking it at all. So again, it's like being that good listener, seeing if there's tidbits, and also if you got to pivot, or else you may not get the job.
And also listening to the team, So like we all have, like I have an experience in making proposals and thinking multiple different ways. I know how you think. I know how I think. And I know how you think. And if I look at a proposal, Vince is the visual references. I am the scope that probably no one reads. And you're the budget that people are going right to.
Yeah.
So like
people read the scope.
No, people read the scope.
Come on. If you're one of our clients, just read the scope. It's a good scope, But anyways, thank you. I appreciate that. Shout out to the scope, dude. But it's like but it's listening to each other of like, you know what people are looking for on that end. I know how, and it's just like you can't be like, nope, I'm doing this by myself. It's like, I think in our teaser, I hear you say, can't do it by yourself, right?
No. Yeah. Well, I think in the full circle that the job that we didn't get that we thought was so aligned, right? I almost feel like I take blame on it because your end you were in check, your logistics were in check, but the visuals weren't. So I can, I'll take that one. I'll take that one to the grave.
Time out. Did you fail or did you learn?
Oh, it was a great learning lesson.
Yeah.
And
love it.
And the opportunities we had, which would have been those shoot days, to me personally, have prevailed to be, what we really should have done. So it was kind of God's plan from above working. It's like showing us, letting us go through it to kind of see what we can take. And if you're open to it, it'll come.
And it brought us together. I mean, we went from Grand Rapids to Chicago, like 2 back-to-back days, and we wouldn't have done that.
Yes.
And that brought us closer together as a team, like you can't plan that stuff.
No, definitely not. I love all of our proposals, obviously. The visual reference is my favorite part. and it's something that I know I can't do, right?
Yeah.
I've tried to. I laugh because I'll be like, I'll work on the visual references and I'll throw something together, and you guys are like, that's terrible. Like, I changed it around. So, but it's.
Did you fail or did you learn?
No, I learned, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting better, right? I'm getting a little bit better here
Exactly.
every day, but.
Well, I think people too respond differently. So it's like in those proposals, you kind of, it's a three, let's call it a 3v3 call in the mind of the client and their team. One may be visual,
100%.
One may be,
Normally
I just
it
care
is.
about the what it's going to cost. And one may be like, how much work is this going to mean I have to do to get this all coordinated on our end? So like make sure employees are there, right? So like when we had our recent pitch, we talked all through it. And then you almost sit there and it's like, are they understanding what we're doing? It's like, let me show you this video. Let me show you these reference frames. And then it's like light bulb. And like, okay, this is a visual. This client needs to see something.
Yeah.
And so I think if we can, the triangle, all the ingredients to bake a delicious Johnny pie.
Johnny Pie. Sponsored by Johnny Pizza.
Pizza pie. I think that's the secret ingredient to what we're doing. As you can tell, we get loopy at the end of these episodes.
No, it's good, and I think the key, right, is that all of this that you've learned has come from not winning a job, or what some may call as failure, right?
Right.
Failing in the traditional sense is not really a word that we even use around the office, right? It's kind of funny even putting it in in this podcast title.
I was a little surprised there.
We don't look at anything as failure. We don't call it failure. We say, hey. You know what? This was a good learning experience.
Well, I mean, I got two things. So, number one thing, I had a little lesson yesterday. When we were all leaving, I kind of gunned it. Sorry, wife, if you're listening, but I tried to gun it forward. I actually gunned it backwards. I dented my bumper, dude. It's a small dent, but I looked at it and I go, I'll always remember this night because this night may be the night that changed my life for the better. I'm not looking at it like I'm not upset about it. Okay, so that was one thing. Second thing was
out of pocket.
I'm just gonna let it go.
OOP on that one. OOP.
Send you an invoice.
Company can't always save you.
Anyways, so the idea of like these proposals, right? It's like these invitations that these clients say, like, hey, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to like do some research, dive in, and try to figure out this problem. Like I know we wouldn't have like, all right, I know today we're just going to go and make a random proposal because we want to. It's an invitation, so that's like it's like a cool assignment for us to like, all right, well, let's dive into this process. Let's see if we can figure it out. And obviously if you get the equation right, then boom, you get the job. And if not, then you got to keep refining and refining and refining.
Yeah.
And so like, I think getting those invitations are like, it's awesome. I love that.
And I think if you get the invitation and then you land it, it's like, if we didn't fail, we wouldn't know that you need to do research when you're pitching a client because you need to speak their language and you need to impress them. And that's something we heard. I felt like that resonated. The person we'll be with was like, wow, I'm very impressed. It's like, if we just won every job by just sending an estimate, it's like, oh my God, this feels too easy. Like you have to put the care, the time, and the resources into like making this client realize that you do care about their project, that you went out of your way to like do this research versus just like, nope, this is what it costs. Because like, I mean, like if we won every job by just sending an estimate, I mean, that'd be amazing. But also it's like, you'd almost feel like, how is this happening? So you kind of need to get knocked down.
Must be doing it for free, Like,
right.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, it goes back to that you may think that you're the only one having this conversation with this client, but lo and behold, right when they hang up with you, they're talking with someone else. So how do you stand out?
Yeah.
How do they remember you? And they're like, wow, they literally check every box that I need. They've listened to me. I feel good. I'm confident in them. XYZ. The numbers are there. Why wouldn't we do it? Like, and that's partnership.
I think one more last thing before we wrap. I think we talked a lot about like client failure and not winning jobs, but I also think like our team outside of us three, like the leadership of JV, but like more like our just the contractors we use, all our people that are just like on our team, right? We strive to always make that like especially you, Tim, like what can we do better as a production company?
Yeah.
So when you come on set,
fill out the form.
Yeah.
Fill out
the survey.
If you're listening, fill out the survey. But like creating that experience for the people that work with us. So then they're like, wow, like this feels I've never had, I never worked in a company that's this organized and actually like cares. But I mean, Tim, maybe it just speaks, like I feel like that was something that when you came into JV, something we didn't normally do. Obviously we do some check-ins, but like taking it that step further of like genuine care of like, if we failed on our end, like hiring you, like maybe there's a process that like we want to know.
Right. No, I think that's critical, right? And from me especially, right, coming from someone that didn't grow up on set for the last 12 years, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it should be like on set. Where you guys do, and you guys may, be like, hey, you just assume some things may be going great. Where I need to actively ask, right? Hey, guys, what could we be doing better? Or what did we do wrong? Or how do you guys do it on set? How do you like it? Because the crew, the more enjoyable time the crew's having, the better time the client's going to have, the better and their experience is going to be, the better the product's going to be. Like, it's a pretty simple formula. And for me, it's just, I'm a blunt person, right? I'm a black and white person, right? I don't do well, like, reading between the lines or anything.
Right to the
I'm going to ask you, and if you tell me we did nothing wrong, then great. I'm going to assume it was great.
Yeah.
So, like, don't be offended. I'm not going to be offended if someone says, hey, you guys said I was only going to be there for 8 hours, but I was there for 9 hours, and like that kind of ruined my day because I had plans in the afternoon. Like, great, that's on us. We need to have a better schedule then, or better
Tighten it up.
contingency plan, and say, hey, be ready for 10 hours. Hopefully we only need you for 8, but don't make other plans. So
That's a good point.
again, I think we do that I think you guys have done it so long, you figured out a lot of the processes to make the production process itself as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
But, as a organization, to continue asking these questions, continue trying to get better, continue to try to force yourself into, hey, where are we failing? Even if it's a small failure, where can we be getting better?
Right.
That's going to be the key to further redefining our processes. Like, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse, right? Because everyone else is catching up to you. So that like aggressive, attack and mentality for improvement is something I think that JV embodies. And, we appreciate all of our network of people when we ask you, we send you a survey, maybe a few of them fill it out. Most of them don't.
Right.
Most of them don't.
Which we assume.
Which we assume everything was great.
Nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong. Yeah.
Right.
Don't fill it out. We're perfect. Right. I mean, that's my assumption. Right. And we're probably not, but someone either doesn't want to hurt our feelings, or they don't have time to do it. So,
Right.
it's a fine line, but, like you said, failure is not an option. We're learning from all our failures, and we're going to continue to look for ways that we can improve by looking at things that we, maybe we didn't do perfectly, right? And just keep striving for perfection. And with that, I think that wraps it up. This was a fun one.
Yeah, it was a little goofy. We liked it.
No, we love it. So thank you guys for listening to episode 6 here. Stay tuned. Episode 7 coming soon, and have a good one.